we're busting into this commercial because the Republican leaders in the House are speaking. We heard Speaker Pelosi a while ago. We had to keep this fair and balanced. Here the Republicans are talking right about now. Listen now, listen.
The deficit, we all now know that is completely false. This bill is a budget Frankenstein. It is a house of cards. It is going to give us a huge deficit now and an even larger deficit in the future. And we can very clearly map this out, yes, using CBO numbers. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our leader, the whip, Mr. Cannon.
Thanks, Paul. Clearly, Paul has laid out for days, for weeks, along with Dave, the budget trickery involved with this bill. CBO's estimate is just not accurate. I mean, listen, if they can go about, and the Democratic majority can go about assuming this kind of fiscal state, one really has to question how it is we're going to see the course for our future charted in any responsible way. And this kind of trickery that is involved with this really, I think, has now manifested itself in their difficulty in getting the votes. I mean, we're here right now and we know they don't have the votes for this bill. And, you know, listen, it's very straightforward. We know that we need 38 Democrat no votes in order to defeat this bill. Publicly right now, there are 33 stated no votes on the Democrat side. We also know that there are 12 members of the so-called Stupak group that are standing firm against the attempt to allow for government funding of abortion. And we also know if you add that 12 to the already 33 Democrat no votes, there's no way they can pass this bill. But we also know that there are many other swing districts on the Democratic side of the aisle that are in play. So we are fighting hard to make sure we're doing everything we can to fight this bill. And again, this type of fiscal chicanery does not give the public a lot of confidence in what the Democrats are about.
Thank you. Dave Camp from Michigan. They're hiding the true cost of this bill, and they're hiding the impact this legislation will have on the deficit. As you've heard, by not including the so-called doc fix, as the Speaker this morning promised that she would do, they also include the Class Act, which is long-term care insurance, and say that that actually reduces the deficit by $70 billion. Now, that new entitlement is something Senator Kent Conrad called a Ponzi scheme. And everyone knows that that new entitlement over the long term will increase the size of the deficit. So if you simply take those two things, the so-called doc fix and the long-term care insurance entitlement, and put those in the bill, as we know they are going to do, the bill actually increases the deficit by nearly $150 billion. They're hiding the cost of this bill. They're hiding the fact that this bill will actually increase the deficit for all Americans.
Questions?
I just want to make sure that, I wanted to clarify, I know that several Republican leaders have said that all the Republicans are going to vote against this bill, but there's been talk recently, I guess, amongst the folks in Stupak's 12, coming up with some sort of concurrent resolution. Are you sure that Joseph Gao is going to vote against it?
Yes, I have spoken to Joseph Gao as recently as an hour and a half ago. He is a firm no against this bill.
I heard your staff out there talking about how you get asked about the authenticity of this memo, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Obviously, the memo that went out from the leadership from Mayor's office earlier, Democrats are now saying that was a hoax and that it's a dirty trick. Can you guys vouch for the authenticity of the memo?
Look, the appropriate question there really is ask the reporter who wrote the article alleging that it was a hoax. I know nothing more than what I read in Politico. I think the question that you really ought to be asking is the hoax on the American people presented by the budget assumptions made on this bill.
And that's the point. I mean, just go to the subject of who cares about a memo. The point is the Speaker is telling us she's going to do the doc fix. So that means that's part of this. That means that's part of healthcare spending this year. That means all of this claim of deficit reduction is false. That means this effort will increase the deficit. You can't count a rate of $522 billion from Medicare to pay for this new entitlement and not count at least $210 billion of spending in Medicare for the doc fix. The numbers just don't add up. And so all of these claims that they've got this great new effort at fiscal responsibility completely ring hollow when you actually look at reality and the facts.
It's a budget Frankenstein, it's budget trickery, it's a hoax. The CBO is wrong, they're hiding costs, they're hiding the impact on the deficit. It is, quote, physical chicanery, and we're fighting hard. The rest of this is streaming live.